after EMI bought Capitol Records, which had started out as like a maverick little record company and then became a cog in the corporate machine. That is a line that I read online that I was like, wow, I hope this isn't wrong, because it's like an angry opinion. Afterwards, they bought him and they wanted to like, yes? Oh,
Capitol Records took over the top 2 floors of New House Hollywood building, which used to be the old CBS building where the soundstage used to film the I Love Lucy. So,
oh really?
As a New House number, we're blocked from going up to the top 2 floors because the Capitol Records took it over from us numbers. So we're kind of pissed.
Oh, I would be pissed too. So we're an anti-Capitol Records tour bus. The number 1 rule of this bus is an enemy of one of us is an enemy of all of us. So nobody can listen to any artist from Capitol Records now or ever. I would get off of Spotify. It's a lot of music. John's got something too. Hold on. Oh, I thought you looked like you had something you wanted to add. Oh yeah. John, you a fan of Lucille Ball? Yeah, that was a trick question. We're all a fan of Lucille Ball. Anyway, so Capitol Records is it's 13 stories. It's earthquake. I like to say earthquake resistant or earthquake proof, but he says resistant, and I'm like, so far it's proof. But I guess like the last laugh will be with God. You know what I mean? We'll see how long. It's 13 stories tall. When they built it, it was the first ever rounded office building, and everybody loves it because it looks like a stack of records. And they're like, oh, it's a record company, stack of records. There's a 90-foot spire on the top that kind of looks like the needle from a gramophone, and people are like, oh my God, we love that form and function. You know what I mean? A nod to its use. It turns out that's completely random. Like from what I've done, like that has nothing to do with what the architect had in mind. He just, I guess, like a happy coincidence, but I love it. It's like a projection of all of our personal symbolism. But if it makes you happy, like keep it. Do you know what I mean? If like in your heart you're like, how cool is that record-shaped record building? I don't want to take that from you. And I think life is about what is it? It's not about your intent. It's about the impact. So that's what I see that building as. I got way off pace. But I have a couple fun facts, and we'll return the Capitol Record building if there's extra time. But the one that I need you to take away from this is at the top of the spire is a blinking red light, and it blinks Hollywood in Morse code. Who knew? Am I right? You could live here your whole life, and did you know that? You're the new bus's enemy. Okay, but did you know this? That when the building was built in 1956, the woman who flipped the switch on the Morse code light to begin its lighting was Layla Morse, granddaughter of Mr. Morse, inventor of the code. There you go. Nepotism abounds. Am I right? But I love Morse code. I'm so grateful for that family. Dot 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 dash 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 dot 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 SOS, my favorite Rihanna song, which we would never have if it hadn't been for the Morses. So a reason to be thankful. We are now entering Beechwood Canyon, which was built by a bunch of real estate developers in the 1920s from basically nothing. Their inspirations for the architecture here were Germany, Italy, France, and Spain. So all of the things that any white person's been inspired by, basically, just all of the Western European, they couldn't pick one. You can look at them and it's fun. Now that you know that, you can be like, okay, that's Germany, that's France, that's like, you can tell which is which, but I love the hodgepodge of it all. Do you guys know the Hollywood sign, the infamous Hollywood sign, was actually built as an advertisement for this Beechwood Canyon neighborhood and in a way to get people to come live here. It was called Hollywood Land, and that's how they were pitching and branding this neighborhood. It originally had blinking lights on it, very fun, light bulbs, but of course it became very decrepit. The thing is, they never took it down officially because everyone in the city loved it, but around 1949, the Hollywood City of Chambers gave it, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, tricky thing, that's hard to say now. The Hollywood Chamber of Commerce gave it to the LA Parks Department in 1949 because it was so fucked up looking. They had like lost the H because the man who was taking care of it had gotten drunk and driven off the hill and like crashed into it. He was fine, but the H did not make it. So it changed hands. The LA Parks Department was like, we'll pay for its upkeep. We'll get rid of the word land to make it a little bit less literally an advertisement and more of a cultural touchstone for this city, which is funny that the city's like biggest cultural touchstone was an ad for real estate. That's what we have for art, art and commerce. But they were like, cool, and we need extra money to fix the light bulbs. And they were like, you know what? If it's coming out of our pocket, then maybe we get rid of the light bulbs. Sign. Oh yeah, there you go, Hollywood Land, the brainchild of those developers. We're also grateful to have it. So the city owned it. It completely fell apart again because they built it out of like plywood and metal. It actually ended up saying at one point Hollywod, which I think is a very funny word. And so they had, someone ran a public campaign to fix it in 1978. And who is that man?
Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, it was Hugh Hefner. Who knew? Wait, someone said it though, right?
Yeah, me.
Oh my god, hey, she knows.
Yeah.
She's not on the same Wikipedia page that I've been on.
Yeah.
He basically galvanized everybody to get it. And so what they did is they took private commissions. 9 people each spent about $27,000 to each buy out a letter. Hugh himself paid for the letter Y. No, right? Interesting. I've been trying to look and I'm like, is it because it looks like a butt crack? Like, what did he love about the Y? Yeah, it looks like cleavage.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the cleavage between Hall and Wood. Do you know what I mean? It's like the dead center letter. Isn't this such a cute street? I've never been, obviously I've never been here. I'm not from here, but I was like, oh my god, LA, I didn't know you had it in you. But anyway, the only other person that you would know that bought a letter for the Hollywood sign, because mostly it was businessmen, was Alice Cooper, bought the O in honor of Groucho Marx. I was like, who knew they were friends? So it's up, it's doing good. I will say, if you're like, well, what happened to the old letters? They ended up on eBay for sale in 2005.
Wave to the locals.
What's going on?
You did this street?
I didn't personally.
But like people used to use this street? This feels like a bad street for a tour because it's so narrow and hard to drive a bus down. And this is like, of all the buses, a pretty small one, no? Our smallest street. But how, I mean, John, a true professional, he's been nailing it every time. I don't want to jinx him. We're close to the end, so. There you go. All right. This is also the neighborhood that Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles were first spotted in together when she was moving out of the house she had with Jason Sudeikis. They were spotted in Harry's manager's house here, which leads me to believe it is a fake relationship. I'm like a celebrity couple truther. I think they're all lying. I think like every man in Hollywood is gay and is having a beard, and they think like it's 2022, we're beyond that, and I'm like, I don't think so, not yet. Also, I don't know if anybody's ever seen this, but when she was promoting Booksmart, Olivia Wilde, there's actually an interview clip where she says the best way to promote a movie is to have the 2 stars date. And I'm like, they're suspicious. Also, I'm like, why were they at his manager's house? He has his own house like 3 miles from here. I'm also so scared they're here and they're listening.
Like, we're really dating.
Something about me is I am a coward. Like, I'm a shit talker and a coward. So I will like talk so much shit about somebody to this bus, but if they approach me, I would take it all back immediately and deny I've ever said anything. I would blame all of you guys. I would throw you all under this metaphorical and literal bus. I'd be like, I don't know, they would stop saying that you guys were fake in love. Yeah, it gets chilly. There's also, if you get cold, you can take the blanket off your seat and kind of like cuddle yourself with it. There it is. Oh my god. You guys can't see it, but from my perspective, you have a really good vantage point of the Hollywood sign.
It's like lit up.
We should have gotten the Hollywood sign in say colors. We'll do it next time for the next event. They lit it up in 2000 for what? For the millennial? Oh, my favorite Hollywood sign vandalism attacks is when they made it Hollyweed in the 70s and they decriminalized it, but then they did it again and they legalized it. Another good one is when the Pope came to town, they made it Holywood. Another great one is nobody knows who did this, but somebody changed it to Jolly Good, which is fun. I love a good, old-fashioned, wholesome, silly British word. I feel like Holyrod is a British word, and I feel like a Jolly Good Holyrod. Isn't that something they'd eat in Harry Potter, like one of those like Christmas puddings? Jolly Good Holyrod. I got John likes. John, do you like that joke? Okay, thank you. Shall I get a joke? Yes. I'm bad at accents though, so I just did whatever I could and I ran. Another favorite vandalism moment was when they made it Holly Boob. There you go. Hugh Hefner lives again. In his honor. No, it was done by Julia Rose. Do you guys know who that is? She was the girl who like flashed her boobs at the like World Series game. And then she started her own, and then she did with a bunch of YouTubers. Yeah. Except for like not a very commercialized model. I don't think she made a dime off of it, but great publicity. Great publicity, great boobs. Good for her. Way to brand yourself. You guys want to hear some more Capitol Records stuff? While we've got downtime? I like to like give everything before and after Mulholland Road, or Mulholland Drive, because it's so pretty that I don't like to interrupt people, they can just load. It's so pretty. So do you guys want to hear a crazy story I learned about the Beach Boys while I was researching Capitol Records? So it's actually completely irrelevant to Capitol Records, but I did have to learn it and I do want to share it. You know, like the whole Brian Wilson problem. You guys see that movie? Okay, so basically I guess he had like mental health issues, and so his like agents were drugging him with LSD all the time, and then he got involved with this psychiatrist who like basically controlled his whole life and kept him drugged and stole all his money, like moved into his houses. So there was a lot of drama, and I guess just everybody in his life was taking advantage of him. So his dad was the band's manager, and in 1989 Brian Wilson and his lawyer sued all of these record companies, all the previous management, to get his money back because he had been so fucked over by everyone. And in this lawsuit they alleged that one of the things his dad would do to manipulate him and get him to sign contracts is that he would pull out his fake eyeball and make Brian look at the scar tissue in the back of his socket until he gave in to whatever he wanted. I was like, oh my god, that's fucked up, no? It is, very traumatic. But I also was thinking about it, I was like, how many times could that even work? You know what I mean? I think it's a real shock value. John thinks it's not true. It was in a lawsuit. Lawyers can't lie. They take an oath. Oh my god. Oh my god, so this is the building that the Tower was based off of. Apparently a couple of guys were fighting and fell down the elevator shaft, and they haven't changed the elevator to this day. So it's in a haunted elevator. And the Tower of Terror at, where is it, Disney World? Disneyland is based on that. I learned that from one of the previous tours I gave. Somebody told me that then. So see, we're all just like trading info. This is an open forum, a Reddit it's like a subreddit, if you will. Oh, there she is, Lucille, the lady of the hour. Oh my god, Charlie Chaplin. So we didn't get to this, but the Hollywood Walk of Fame, between its conception and its creation, it was held up by 2 lawsuits. One of the lawsuits was brought on by Charlie Chaplin's son, who sued them for not giving him a star. They didn't give him a star because I guess he had like very leftist politics, and they thought if they gave him a star, people would get up in arms and be upset about it. So he didn't get one for another 18 years. He got one in the 70s, the same year he got his Oscar. And even then, so many years later, they did get a ton of hate mail. People were like, how dare you give this commie a star? I wonder what like his leftist views were. I feel like back then it's like, maybe weekends should exist. And they're like, yeah!
We work every day.
Oh yeah. Nobody's ever lost a star. That's what John just told me. Yeah, but people like vandalize and stuff, right? Yeah. So the Hollywood Walk of Fame was invented in the 1950s. They first put down the first 1,500 stars in 1961. star for 8 years. Nobody really cared that much. It wasn't that interesting to people. They were held up by the 2 lawsuits. The other one was just all the local businesses were so pissed that their taxes went up so high to all this fucking sidewalk. They're like, we have a sidewalk. We don't need another sidewalk. But again, the head of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce was sure it would revitalize the area and bring in tourism. To this day, it actually brings in 10 million tourists every year. So like a visionary. But okay, this is actually one interesting fact, and I'm excited to share with you. So when they first invented the Hollywood Walk of Fame, they had stars for movie actors, TV actors, radio people, and musicians. And the standard for musicians was that you had to have sold 1 million records or 250,000 albums. Because that standard was so high, a lot of the great musicians at the time actually weren't eligible. And so they're like, fuck, what do we do? So as basically like a participation trophy prize, they invented the Grammys. And the Grammys first existed as a way to apologize to all the artists that weren't good enough for a star or Walk of Fame. And so then I asked you guys, what would you rather, a Grammy or a star? A Grammy, right? Yeah, you take that home.
People don't have to walk.
Yeah, well actually, so that brings me, so one person has a star not on the ground and on a wall. Do you know who it is? Muhammad Ali.
Cool.
Because he changed his name to Muhammad, which is the prophet's name. He was like, I don't want anyone stepping on that name, it's disrespectful. So his is up on the wall from 2002. So to get nominated for a star, you can't nominate yourself, a fan, or even a group of people. Someone else has to nominate you. 200 nominations get selected every year and sent to the committee. 20 to 25 people get picked for stars. And then in order to get your star, somebody has to pay $50,000 on your behalf, and you have to agree to show up for a photo op. So a lot of celebrities have been like nominated for stars and then just don't come get them. Like Madonna literally was like, it's so embarrassing. Prince famously said, I don't think it's like the right time right now for me to get a star. And I just read that now that he's dead, they're like, we could give him one anyway. And I was like, that feels disrespectful. Like, let that man live in peace. Yeah, point it out when you see it. Oh my god, on the right, you're right, is the Hollywood Hermitage Museum. It's where they shot the first ever motion picture in 1913. It was a silent film shot in there, which was a working barn. And then on the right, you can see the Hollywood Hills. Oh, my right, your left. It's backwards. Your left is the Hollywood Bowl. It has 18,000 seats. And somebody on the tour yesterday told me that it was originally designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. He had a pyramid situation going on, and everybody hated it, so they tore it down in the 60s and rebuilt it with like rainbows, I guess. I've never been there, but I was told there's like rainbows. She also said that there originally had been like a pool that they would fill up, but now they just use it as a pit for the other orchestra. You guys are getting the best deal because you're out here on the last day of the tour, so I've just been like, I'm like a ball picking up dust, you know what I mean? I'm just like a lippy sweater right now, full of information.
It's crazy.
It's so cool. Thank God you brought your heavy winter coat. I brought my puffer for like when I landed in New York City, but New York City is here.
That's why I wore velour, just in case. You never know.
Yeah, when the sun goes down, it gets cold.
Yes, it does.